Hey everyone, I am Laszlo, and in this video I'm going to activate my Gimlet Cloud account and connect a real Kubernetes cluster to it, and I'm going to deploy an app. Now, I already have an application deployed and it's running on our Ephemeral environment, which is quite nice because it's a real Kubernetes cluster, but it's hosted in our data center, meaning I didn't have to do anything when to set it up when I registered to the cloud environment. So that's pretty cool. But when it comes to your staging and production environments, you actually need to create a new environment and connect a real cluster to it, because the ephemeral environment is only going to be alive for 7 days while you evaluate Gimlet. It makes a bunch of things easier at the beginning, but this is the step when I actually want to, set up a Kubernetes environment for real. So this is going to be interesting for me as well, because I haven't done this in the past 2 or 3 weeks, so I don't know how the process is going to be end to end, but I am looking forward to the challenge. All right, so right now I need to upgrade Gimlet, and for that I need to provide my credit card numbers and probably a discount code as well. So I have activated my Gimlet Cloud instance, and what I read here is that the ephemeral environment will be alive for another 7 days, which is cool, but I need to create a real cluster. So by now this create button is alive and well. Now I can push it and I can create a new environment. Let's call it staging, and I'm going to need to connect a cluster. Now, getting Kubernetes clusters used to be a difficult thing, and if you go to AWS or other providers, you need to do a bunch of things. But I like CIVO.com for the very reason that it's very simple to set up, and it's also very budget friendly so probably I'm going to launch like a $10-20 a month cluster, and I'm going to use it to do all kinds of deployments. So let me log in and launch this cluster. It's been a while since I've been on this dashboard, so let's see if something has changed. It's going to be staging, and let's call it Gimlet Cloud Staging. Just a single node is enough. It feels like a VM. So Kubernetes is not just about the scale, it's more about the configuration management and the fact that it's becoming the standard in the industry. So even though if you have a single node and you have providers like CIVO, it's very reasonable to launch Kubernetes on it. All right, so let me try maybe this one, 2 cores, 4 gigs of RAM, or maybe just for the demo to be smooth, I'm gonna try this one, this $40 a month. I'm gonna experiment later on with the smaller ones. That's a monthly price, and you know what, the rest is just fine. I'm actually not gonna use the ingress controller they provide. Where is it? Traffic. I don't need that. So the only thing is enabled is metrics server. So let's launch this cluster. All right, it is starting up, and it's CIVO is pledging themselves to be up and ready in like 2 minutes. It's usually around that, so let's wait for that. In the meantime, perhaps we can actually bootstrap this new environment. Bootstrapping means creating the gitops repositories, because everything related to infrastructure configuration or application deployment are stored in Git repositories. So Gimlet writes these Git repositories, and the cluster pulls it down and applies this new configuration every time. So I have a staging infra repository. I'm pretty sure of that. So let's call it, I don't know, like very creative. I'm probably used up all the numbers by now. But yeah, let me just push bootstrap GitOps environments or repositories. Okie dokie. It is ready. If I go to the infra repo, I see a bunch of files. Flux is bootstrapped, and some Helm releases as well are part of this repo. namely Gimlet agent. I'm probably gonna need some more components here, but let's see about that later. All right, apps is probably empty because we don't have any applications deployed, just some Flux stuff. That's pretty cool. And up here it says connect my cluster, and it's disconnected. That's fair. And in the meantime, our CIVO cluster is running, and I'm going to download the kubeconfig for it. And if I go to my terminal, it's let's just export kubeconfig equals downloads, and the name was CIVO Gimlet Cloud Staging kubeconfig. CIVO Gimlet Cloud Staging kubeconfig, and if I get nodes, kubectl get nodes, I see this node already with just a few pods running on it. So I have a cluster. It was super sweet, straightforward experience. I love CIVO for it. So the next step will be connecting this cluster to Gimlet. Now, this one is about installing the Gimlet CLI. I believe I have even a newer version, so maybe we should update the help text. So I have 1.0 alpha 1, and yeah, I don't need this. I don't need a cluster on my laptop. So let me just connect my cluster like this. Alrighty, let's do it. I'm going to delete this cluster and I'm going to delete this environment before launching the video. So all these tokens that you see on the screen will not be available. So that shouldn't be a concern. All right. Flux is installed. Connection is up. Waiting for some stuff to start up. All right, and now the agent. Amazing, it is up, and the environment says it is connected. So as far as it goes in terms of cluster creation and connection, it's done. I'm pretty sure I need to configure a bunch of things still, but if I go here and go to Streamlit app and look at my staging environment, I could create a new deployment to it. That's pretty decent at this point. Now, I usually use a Docker file to build a Streamlit app. I need a registry for it. Maybe I'm gonna configure one just in a second. I need to set a port and so on. And I'm also going to need to have DNS. So a couple of things to set up. And this is the part where I don't have recent experience. So let's try it. So this is the staging environment. I could configure a custom registry. I could configure GitHub's container registry or Docker Hub. I'm gonna use just a containerized registry, which is a bit dumb, and it's not even backed up or anything, but it's going to be a registry running on the target cluster. So maybe I'm just gonna go with this setup, and it has only a URL. It works without credentials in the cluster. So if I save this, it's gitops, so all the configuration files are actually written into this infrastructure repository. Let me merge this pull request and follow the gitops process. So I have two environments now, staging and this fleet silence, which is the ephemeral one. And I can see that sources have been updated just 1 minute ago, and right now things are reconciling. So that's pretty neat. Soon, if it's a ham release, it will show up. I'm not even certain whether it's a ham release or not. So no, that's just a plain manifest. So I will not see the status under this tab, but I can assume that a registry is set up. All right. What happens now if I go to the Streamlit app and try to deploy to using a Docker file? I can use this newly installed containerized registry, which is very cool. And I know that my Streamlit app support is 8501. Let's call it Streamlit app CIVO. Default namespace is just fine. And DNS. So I'm going to deploy without a DNS first. So just to verify the experience outside of the DNS world. I'm pretty interested whether this works or not. All right, the image is pushed to the registry. I have a gitops commit with all the manifests written to the Git repositories, and soon enough, this deployment should show up in the cluster. It's synchronizing. Okay, I have an issue here, but that is something we can work out. I am missing a few components from the cluster, namely sealed secrets. So sealed secrets enabled. What else do I need? Logging, I don't need. Nginx. Let me install Nginx as well. Host is going to be staging.turbo pizza. If I still have the domain. Cert manager, yeah, let's have cert manager. Laszlo Gimlet.io is the email. Yes. Okay, let me save this. Okay, review. Yeah, all the things and merge. All right. Here I will see soon that the infra repository is being updated. And actually, when the infra repository is deployed, I should see that the app is deployed itself. So good. Right here, infra repository is reconciling. Okie dokie. Maybe I'm gonna force reconcile this application here. Okay, it's applied. All the dependencies are there, so the application can be deployed as well. So if I look at my repository, I'm gonna see the new application being created, container creating, and yeah, images being pulled. That's cool. And it's running, and the logs are showing the right thing. I've seen here a little bit of an image pool secret thingy. I'm gonna put that on my list. All right, and this environment is I forgot to write configuration to Git, so I don't have port forward and I cannot edit it. So let me do the deploy just one more time. I'm gonna delete this ad hoc deployment. And done. New deployment. I'm just gonna redo the whole thing. CIVO web application template, Docker file, containerized registry, 8501 Docker file, and then staging turbo pizza.net. Okay. Now I have a real ingress as well, so probably I just need to set a DNS record and everything is going to function just perfectly. So let's see. All right, image is pushed to the registry, manifests are written to the Git repository, Flux is about to pick up the changes. So we are soon there. Yes, this is the application deployed and boo, confetti everywhere. Amazing. And this is the step that we missed previously. I'm going to write configuration to Git. Now I'm able to edit the configuration if I want to. DNS is not there yet, so I'm going to try the port forward command. And let's see if that actually works. So I'm going to port forward to my local 8501. And I'm going to click this link. And this is my Streamlit app. Amazing. So it is running on the cluster on CIVO Cloud. It's been deployed by Gimlet. We needed to set up a few infrastructure components, more than I actually remembered. So that's where we are. And the last step would be DNS and how to figure out what is the IP address. Is kubectl get services in all the namespaces, and this is a public IP. So, or actually, let me just show just the services inside the infrastructure namespace. This is the IP address I need to set in my DNS settings. Again, I'm gonna open Cloudflare. So good news, I still own turbopizza.net. So let me add a wildcard A record on star.staging and let me point everything to this public IP address that is running inside CIVO Cloud. Once I save this and things propagate, it should be, pointing at the right ingress controller. So if I hit this one, soon I'm going to have an HTTPS domain running. I was probably a little bit early, but let's give it some time. And if I get all the ingresses in all the namespaces, I can see that right now it's Cert Manager is trying to obtain the HTTPS certificate. And again, DNS might take some time to propagate. So if I ns lookup something.staging turbopizza.net, I see the right IP address, and if I go to Cloudflare's DNS, they see it. If I go to Google, they see it as well. So soon enough, Cert Manager is going to see it as well. Okay, I made a mistake actually. So here it's I need to put a dot into the staging ingress configuration .staging.turbopizza.net. That's a recent change. Let's see if that solves it. Let's merge the change. And actually, I need to edit this ingress config as well. Domain. Yeah, right here. This is okay, right here. Let me save it and deploy this version. Deploy app CIVO to staging. All right, image pushed, commit made. Soon it's going to be synchronized to the cluster. And this domain name should be fixed. All right, and there is a dot. So let me close this window, give it some time until Cert Manager realizes. Okay, so now DNS works, and right now it's only that the HTTPS certificate is not done yet. Let's give it a minute or two, and it's going to be fine. If we are impatient, we can look at these. It's already terminating, so I think that the TLS certificate is there. If I refresh, yes, it's right there, and the application is running. All right, besides a few hiccups, it was quite okay. We used the $40 CIVO node, so it had like 2 CPUs, 4 gigs of RAM, so it has actual real power to build the images and so on. So that was very neat. I should remember or document which components are mandatory, and to be honest, we could make it enabled by default. That was the idea all along. It wasn't done so far, and I have to watch out for configuring ingress. And that was that. And right now I have a staging environment, and I could create a production environment, and I have 2 configurations, so everything is in order. So thanks for your attention.